When it came to selling World Cup tickets, FIFA used a system that had fixed pricing. No matter what match it was, each ticket would cost the exact same depending on what category it fell into. So all it came down to then was whether you'd be lucky enough to be selected by a lottery that grants people the ability to purchase tickets. It was a good way to allow the majority of the world to experience the tournament, as the ticket prices were relatively inexpensive, excluding the travel costs. However, for the 2026 World Cup, FIFA announced they would be using dynamic pricing for the first time ever. Now, the cost of tickets entirely depended on the location of the game and who was playing in it. To be fair though, the lottery system still existed, and set prices were relatively inexpensive. However, because purchasing was on a first-come, first-served basis and people were allowed to buy 40 tickets each, prices surged very quickly, despite no one knowing which teams were playing which at that point. Fast forward to now, with the groups drawn though, the ticket prices are honestly kind of inhumane. The cheapest ticket for the US or Mexico's opening game is over $1,000. Canada, over $900. Tickets for any games consisting of Messi's Argentina and Cristiano Ronaldo's Portugal has seen prices rise over 300%. The cheapest seat for Portugal versus Colombia in particular is $265. Mind you, that is a seat in the nosebleeds. And also, the same amount of money would have gotten you close to the pitch in any other World Cup. Oh, you want to know how much it is to see Messi and Ronaldo up close? $700. What makes this more insane is that this is also the price range for games like Portugal vs Uzbekistan and Argentina vs Jordan. In any other World Cup, this would be a magical opportunity for the fans that have never seen their nation qualify, because they would have a chance to see their teams go up against some of the greatest to ever do it in person. But now, they're being priced out in favor of wealthier Messi and Ronaldo dick riders. But that was FIFA's plan all along when they first introduced this system. They knew that because games were in the US, there would be a significant increase in demand, and FIFA wanted to maximize on every bit of it. Every England game is over $200 for the worst seat possible. England's opener versus Croatia in particular is $265, while England versus Panama is $220 fucking dollars. Every game consisting of the Germans also costs $200 as well, no matter if they're playing Ecuador or fucking Curacao. It's no wonder why Germans are constantly losing more and more interest in this tournament despite being one of the more successful countries. And hey, Haitians, you can basically go fuck yourselves. Due to your group consisting of only higher profile teams, you'll have to suffer from the so-called demand of their fans, because the cheapest ticket to see your team in the World Cup for the first time in 50 years is $180. Now, FIFA will argue that dynamic pricing actually works in favor of the lesser in-demand matches, but they say this as if a game like Qatar vs Switzerland will be like $30. It's $140 for the worst seat. It was already bad enough that the group draw rules didn't give us many good matchups, but now I gotta see the most egregious prices for genuinely the most mid-shit imaginable. You wanna see the highly anticipated New Zealand vs Iran match? $140 please. Paraguay vs Australia? Also $140. You wanna see Ecuador vs Curacao in its worst seat? $180. Uruguay vs Cape Verde? Also $180. Spain vs Saudi Arabia? Oh, you're thinking about seeing Spain vs Saudi Arabia? $220. And remember, these prices are for the fucking nosebleeds. And motherfuckers who justify this shit using the supply and demand argument are either fucking morons or FIFA bots. Oh, can't afford a ticket near the pitch for Jordan vs Austria that costs $400? Get your money up, brokie. How about you fucking kill yourself? I am very aware that demand is a lot higher with the states hosting, but that doesn't mean the average cheapest ticket should cost like 10 times more than the fucking Euros. Actually, fun fact, I spent $150 to see this view of Austria vs Turkey in the last 16 just last year. I mean, hell, the cheapest World Cup final ticket in 2022 was only $206, which would only get you Ecuador vs Curacao in this tournament. And I'm sure you're wondering what the cheapest ticket for this year's World Cup final is. $4,000. Over the years, the World Cup, despite its many, and I mean many flaws, has always been for the ordinary fan no matter their background. These fans have been through thick and thin with their countries. They've experienced the agony of every heartbreak. They've witnessed every drop of blood, sweat, and tears that those who represent them let out. Now they'd have the opportunity to travel and support those same players on the world's biggest stage with the proudest of hearts no matter how things went. With dynamic pricing though, that dream is now dead for the majority because tickets are just way too expensive expensive, and that's without considering the other costs. You got flights, Ubers, food, hotels, so many other things. And hotel prices in particular have skyrocketed since schedules were announced. Now, despite many calls for something to be done with the ticket prices, FIFA has not budged. In fact, they've been bragging about the 5 million ticket requests that were submitted. Not even tickets sold, mind you, ticket requests. This could mean a lot of things. More than likely, it's the fact that a lot of these requests were for games that were already in demand. And also, it was only 5 million requests? That kind of seems like a very tiny fraction if you really think about it. Okay, so quick update, FIFA caved. Kinda. There's now $60 tickets available for each match. Thing is, though, they're very limited, making up only 1.6% of the available tickets for each match. And also, I'm almost certain that these tickets are going to be in these parts of the stadium. In the past, when your country was announced the host of the World Cup, it was seen as a magical moment, as this was your tournament. This was a special, once-in-a-lifetime event for people in the country to experience a spectacle like no other. However, once again, that magic is gone because fans are being priced out. But when it comes to local fans specifically, they're also being fucked over in many other ways completely out of their control, no matter if they go to a game or not. Host cities in the US are expected to shoulder around $100 to $200 million in costs related to security, infrastructure, and logistics. And because FIFA isn't responsible for any of these expenses, the host cities have to seek funds from the US government, who is also leaving them in the dark. It got so ridiculous to the point that cities started paying lobbyists to convince the US government to provide more funds. That is actually insane. But even when a budget was finally approved just recently, it was only $625 million total, which is far from enough for cities to cover their costs. It's insane to think that the same country where the Copa America final incident happened is still being stingy about security costs for a tournament much, much bigger. Like, have we not learned? Do we want people to get crushed to death? And because these cities are being left to struggle with their own budget problems, they're starting to cut funding for some of the out-of-stadium festivities like FanFests. This tournament is literally losing every part of what made it so special in the first place. Hello, future me again. FanFests have always been free since their inception, but New York's actually just announced a $10 fee. Not only that, they've manufactured even more demand with their little greedy ass hands by adding an early bird ticket. That's right, you can get an early access ticket to the World Cup FanFest. But surely the cities can make money other ways, right? I mean, the ticket prices are so egregious that surely the cities will benefit from that. Revenue from ticket prices primarily go to FIFA. Also another thing, FIFA is a non-profit organization. I know, it sounds insane to say considering they are scamming people out of mass amounts of money, but it's true. Under Swiss law, FIFA is a non-profit because a majority of their money is used to help every country with footballing infrastructure and development. And you might be thinking, wait, but Maxwell, this actually sounds pretty good. I mean, FIFA's using the money that they make from the World Cup and giving it away to all these different federations that actually need it way more than them. Here's the thing though, many federations are still struggling to fund basic infrastructure. Meanwhile, Gianni Infantino, the FIFA president, is making $4.6 million a year. That is a little more than half of what every federation receives in that same time frame. But because FIFA is non-profit, they're exempt from paying taxes. So as a result, tickets won't actually charge a sales tax, meaning cities will be losing out on even more money, actually millions that could go into public services and healthcare. According to the Institution of Taxation and Economic Policy, the state of Missouri is going to lose almost $2 million per game. Florida is estimated to lose $7.4 million, while Atlanta expects to lose up to $25 million. But I haven't even gotten to the worst part of this, because buyers and sellers of tickets still have to pay a 15% tax. The only difference is that instead of the money going to the city, it goes straight into FIFA's pockets. This organization is so incredibly evil, it's not even funny. Okay, but what about commercial revenue? I mean, the United States of America is like the center of this kind of stuff. Because of FIFA's monopoly on all commercial revenue made from the World Cup, cities can't even organize their own deals to generate revenue because it quote-unquote threatens FIFA's primary partners. I just want to ask this simple question as a taxpayer in this country, since our money funds this tournament. What the fuck are we even getting out of this? The ticket prices are way too expensive for the common fan, revenue from these egregious prices don't even go back to the cities like any normal sporting event, and our cities in general are bankrupting themselves because they're barely getting any financial support, and they're constantly restricted from even trying to generate revenue.
Lose! Need some change? No. Why? Because I'm all out of money!
This whole tournament is just one big scam, which isn't really a surprise at all considering most countries have only lost money from hosting the World Cup. But don't worry everyone, FIFA has promised that somehow all of these expenses the cities are having to carry will eventually be offset by a massive spike of tourism. In fact, Gianni Infantino even claimed that the Club World Cup and World Cup will generate over $40 billion for the US economy. Their evidence? You just gotta trust them, bro. I don't know. And that was another episode of Is the US a Good Host for this World Cup? Fuck no it isn't. But also, let's talk about this. Is the World Cup even a good tournament to host in any country? Fuck no. But what do you guys think? You know, are the ticket prices reasonable? Should we just get our money up? Or are they reasonable and we should just get our money up? Let me know. Of course, a massive shout out to all our members, including Janos Balas, German Sayo 7, Jeremiah Owusu Ajimang, Django, Anazir Makalankam, Alex Rod, Kentra Gatra, Saint Terrence, Sylvia Citrus, Cheesebait, Winter Gel, Finn Likes Rugby More, Davox, The Portugizer, Wise Orange, Polar Protos, Von Fan, Augustly Owl, Coney Wolves, Leakstab, Matanai, Apollo, Thrilling ADT13, Los Milos, LeJames Braun, Vecino, Napside, Money Cash Hose, Quantavious Pork, Lilia Lover, Stewed Monk, Red Yellow, Fuxi, MXN, Harry Maguire's Left Toenail, Flaquito, Thierry's Thoughts, Kev C, Dominic Griffin, Kyler Krebs, Mohammed Altanib, Nish, Patrick Barley, Raspberry God 5, Raspberry Ale, and Unbroken Persona. If you'd like to become a member on the channel, there'll be a link down below and up in the annotations. You can follow my Twitter if you want, follow my Instagram if you like, follow my Twitch. Thinking about doing an Arsenal watch along sometime this coming weekend. We'll see. But until then, I'll see you guys. Get your money up, brokie.